Hello, American Patriots, and welcome to another episode of the Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight, but you chose to be here, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you. If you are just joining our show, if you haven't watched my program before, please go to douglasducote.com and sign up with your email address, because social media is purging Republicans and conservatives in a massive amount. Just today, Twitter purged 170,000 different conservatives and Republicans from their platform. I myself have been banned for life on Twitter. Any Google product is being under attack by, as far as conservatives and Republicans being removed from their platforms. YouTube will be doing the same thing. They already have started, as well as Facebook. They've managed to shut down Parler, and they've managed to get Wimkin to almost a complete crawl. So, all that being said, let's get right into tonight's news. First, let me say this. Breaking news from Fox, which also was reported on CNN earlier. And this is a prime example of what I've been saying about CNN and MSNBC not listing any information as to who their sources behind the scenes were in the White House, or members of Congress for that matter. Fox News says McConnell furious with the president and supports move to initiate impeachment process. Sources say. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell supports Democrats' move to initiate impeachment processing against President Trump and is done and furious with him, sources familiar told Fox News. Sources familiar. Well, we all know what that means. It means it's absolute fake news. Once again, here we have Fox joining the ranks of CNN and MSNBC. You would think, one would think, that Fox would have learned by watching CNN and MSNBC's numbers tank, but obviously not. And sadly, now we have Fox doing the same shit that they've been doing for a long time. The House of Representatives, as many of you already know, is expected to vote tonight on a measure calling for President Donald Trump to be removed from office through the 25th Amendment in the wake of what all took place last week at the Capitol. The resolution brought forward by Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin of Maryland calls on Vice President Mike Pence to immediately use his powers under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to convey and mobilize the principal officers of the executive departments of the cabinet to declare what is obvious to a horrified nation, that the president is unable to successfully discharge the duties of his office. It further calls on Pence to assume the powers of duty of the office as acting president. Pence's office released a letter this evening to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and it said the following: with just 8 days left in the president's term, you and the Democrat caucus are demanding that the cabinet and I invoke the 25th Amendment. I do not believe that such a course of action is the best interest of our nation or consistent with our Constitution, Pence wrote. Therefore, taking the 25th off the table, where it should have never been in the first place. You know, Democrats and some Republicans have a problem with being honest and truthful, and they forget that there's cameras everywhere and recording devices, and what they say on YouTube, for instance, in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years, 6 months will come back to haunt you. What I say and do on YouTube years from now, if I deviate from where I've been, I need to either explain to you why I've changed my mind and look at things differently. Otherwise, you're going to call me a liar. So let's look at something that took place last week when the few entered the Capitol and all this chaos started. Squad member Representative Anita Presley said today that she left the safe room with other members of Congress during the riot at the U.S. Capitol last week because of her treasonous, white supremacist, anti-masker colleagues. That's correct. She's calling everyone that didn't wear a mask, and in her mind, it was just Republicans, that they are white supremacists and they are treasonous. The second I realized our safe room from the violent white supremacist mob included treasonous white supremacist anti-masker members of Congress who incited the mob in the first place, I exited. Presley wrote on Twitter today, furious that more of my colleagues by the day are testing positive. While we're on the subject of the safe room, Democrat Representative Pramila Jayapal tweeted this morning that she was diagnosed with coronavirus and slammed Republicans who refused to wear a mask as lawmakers were sheltering from the pro-Trump mob that attacked the Capitol. I just received a positive COVID-19 test after being locked down in a secured room at the Capitol where several Republicans not only cruelly refused to wear a mask, but recklessly mocked colleagues and staff who offered them one. But video published by CBS News showed Jayapal hiding in the House gallery along with the other lawmakers, and guess what? She didn't have on a mask. The hypocrisy of these Democrats is pathetic. Jayapal was holding an escape hood, which is basically a gas mask, though she never put it on. So here we have two Democrat members of Congress, Representative Pramila Jayapal and Representative Anita Presley, both in the safe room, spewing no merit bullshit. They're both liars, and they should resign from Congress. Calling anyone who doesn't wear a mask a white supremacist should in itself be something that gets you, if nothing else, censored as a member of Congress. You pathetic, ugly-looking Democrat, racial inflaming, Al Sharpton, gasoline-pouring fool. Speaking of what took place in Washington, the FBI and the Department of Justice held a press conference today. They said that more than 170 people so far have been charged in connection with last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol, but the investigation has only just gotten momentum. The men and women of the FBI will leave no stone unturned in this investigation. The assistant director in charge of the FBI's Washington field office told reporters during the press conference. This is a 24/7 full-bore extensive operation into what happened that day. The FBI has appealed to the public to help identify suspects, and photos has yielded more than 100,000 pieces of digital evidence that the agency is going through. The FBI has a long memory and a broad reach. Agents and our partners are on the streets investigating leads not only here in D.C., but also across the country through the FBI's 56 field offices. Even if you've left D.C., FBI agents from our local field office will be knocking on your door if we find that you were part of the criminal activity at the Capitol. Acting U.S. Attorney for the District of Washington, Michael Sherwin, called having the U.S. Capitol as the center of a crime scene unprecedented in American history. He said he foresaw thousands of potential witnesses and hundreds of crime scenes, and nothing like this. Maybe you should look up the Weather Underground. Just a suggestion. This is not going to be solved overnight, Sherwin said. It's not going to be solved within the coming weeks. It's not going to be solved within the coming months. This is going to be a long-term investigation, and rest assured, the FBI, the Department of Justice, all U.S. attorneys across the United States that are assisting these investigations, everyone is in for the long haul. Sherwin said he anticipates the number of criminal cases to grow in the coming weeks. The cases so far run the gamut from simple trespass, theft, and assault to felony murder and civil rights excessive force investigations. This is only the beginning. So after these criminal charges are filed via criminal complaint that allows law enforcement across the United States to arrest people from Dallas to Arkansas to Nashville to Cleveland to Jacksonville, Sherwin said, regardless of what it was, just trespassing on the Capitol or someone who planted a pipe bomb, you will be charged and you will be found. Now, I'm on board for going after anybody that planted a pipe bomb. I'm on board for going after anyone that caused severe damage, that physically hurt another person, a police officer in several cases. We even had one that died. But here's my question to the FBI. Let's take what we witnessed happen and watched unfold right in front of our eyes at the U.S. Capitol last week. That incident, and compare it to what we have watched happen over the past 4 years all across this nation, especially in places like Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. But there was also the same type violence in Atlanta, in Chicago. Where were you? Where were you, FBI, when Antifa and Black Lives Matter were torching police stations, burning them to the ground, taking out and stealing things from the police station as they burned it, torching police cars, burning federal courthouses, burning mom and pop businesses and looting them, burning a post office, attacking innocent men, women, and children for no other reason than they supported the president or wearing a Make America Great Again hat or shirt. Attacking and physically injuring hundreds of police officers by hitting them with bricks and Molotov cocktails, all types of non-lethal devices to injure them, and in some cases, took their lives. Where were you, Department of Justice and the FBI, when we watch these domestic terrorists across this nation destroy shit that makes what happened at the Capitol look like a fucking walk in the park? It's absolutely disgusting how bad your leadership has been infiltrated by liberal nut jobs. This is not the way you conduct law enforcement. This is not how it's supposed to be done. Lady Justice is supposed to be wearing a blindfold for a reason. Where were you, FBI and Department of Justice, when Antifa and BLM took over and occupied several city blocks of Seattle and Portland, and to this day still control those city blocks? Where were you? They've killed people. They have their own damn law enforcement, which is Antifa members and BLM walking around with AR-15s, the same scary guns that Democrats and liberals are saying, oh, they were there in Washington with this. Where were you when Antifa and BLM has done the same shit every damn week for 4 fucking years across this nation? Where the rest? They're little and far between. And most of them that actually did get arrested were done by local law enforcement, and then federal liberal judges turn around and let their ass out because of COVID-19. The hypocrisy that is happening in this country with Democrats and liberals is shameful. And we all know from watching the likes of James Comey and Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and all the people under them in the leadership roles like Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, what criminal elements they were part of and the federal crimes they committed. But you don't do anything to your own, do you? Nope. They're walking free. In fact, they're writing books and making millions of dollars off their criminal enterprise that they ran. It's disgusting. House GOP conference chairwoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming and Representative John Cato of New York are planning to support Democrats' efforts to impeach President Trump after last week's riots at the Capitol. To allow the President of the United States to incite this attack without consequences is a direct threat to the future of democracy, Cato said in a statement released Tuesday. For that reason, I cannot sit by without taking action. I will vote to impeach this president. Cheney blasted Trump in a statement saying, much more will come clear in coming days and weeks, but what we know now is enough. The President of the United States summoned this mob, assembled the mob, and lit the flame of this attack, she said. Everything that followed was his doing. None of this would have happened without the president. The president could have immediately and forcefully intervened to stop the violence, He did not, she said. There has never been a greater betrayal by a president of the United States of his office and his oath of the Constitution. I will vote to impeach the president. Well, Congresswoman Cheney, let me ask you to do your homework for a moment and go back and look at the Obama years. You know, Fast and Furious rings a bell, where FBI agents were and other members of federal law enforcement, ATF, were sending weapons across the border into Mexico because somebody thought that'd be a great idea to track them to catch the cartel. And then, lo and behold, if some of those weapons weren't used right back here in America after they come back across the border to shoot and kill Americans, to include a border agent. Yep, that was Eric Holder who was responsible for that under President Obama. And then when members of Congress wanted all that information about Fast and Furious released to the public, Obama made sure it was hidden forever and put out an executive action to keep the public from knowing the truth about Fast and Furious. While we're at it, Representative Cheney, did you forget that Obama is guilty of treason? Oh, what am I talking about? Let me see. Aiding and abetting the enemy when he traded 5 known terrorists that were captured on the battlefields in Afghanistan and Iraq. They were in Gitmo, where they should have stayed forever, traded them for one army deserter who sided with the Taliban and left his military post in Afghanistan. He traded 5 terrorists for that one piece of shit. Not only did he do that, but he also gave them billions of dollars in cash. Did you forget that, Representative Cheney? Does any of that ring a bell? You stupid ass. After Cheney and Cato's announcement, Representative Alan Kidlinger, Republican Illinois, later tweeted a statement backing impeachment himself. We are in uncharted waters here, and in history we have not experienced in modern times, he said. He added that there is no doubt in my mind that the President of the United States broke his oath of office and incited the riot. At least he didn't aid and abet the enemy that are responsible for killing American troops. And as we know, House Democrats have drafted an article of impeachment against President Trump, accusing him of inciting the riots before the protesters rioted at the Capitol building on Wednesday. But the timing of how the impeachment process will play out remains up in the air, raising the question, can the Senate hold an impeachment trial for a president who is no longer in office? Now, see, that's the big push here by the Democrats to force this through the House and send it up to the Senate. because they know right now they have Republican members like Representative Cheney that is siding with them. And they know they have members of the Senate, Republicans, that are siding with them. So they're going to force this through. With 8 days remaining in Trump's presidency, House members such as Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, Democrat, New York, have called for a swift and immediate impeachment and removal, claiming that Trump is a danger to the country while he is still in office, while others have supported the idea of delaying the process for months so that President-elect Joe Biden can focus on his own agenda during the first 100 days in office before Congress is consumed with an impeachment trial. While holding an impeachment trial for someone who has already gone from office may seem unproductive, it could strip Trump of post-presidency benefits and prohibit him from ever running again. So they realize, with just a few days left, the chances, because we know what the House is going to do. The House is going to go off impeachment. It doesn't matter. I mean, they impeached President Trump already for something that was an outright lie, and they knew it was a lie, and they knew it wasn't true before it ever even went in front of the members to vote on. And they did it anyhow. So, in the event that it goes to the Senate, and it will tomorrow, if not tomorrow, Thursday, probably at the latest, the Senate is not scheduled to take it up until the day before inauguration, which is the 19th. So members of Congress believe that doesn't matter. If Trump's out of office, we can still go forward with this and do the Senate impeachment and therefore strip him of his future powers to ever run for office again. Okay, so I dug deep into the Constitution to try and figure out, can they do that? Listen up, Democrats and liberals. The Constitution specifically says the president shall be removed from office upon impeachment. It does not say the former president. Therefore, the Senate and the House are out of their freaking minds. They would have to reword the Constitution or think into something that the founding fathers never intended, which is to go after a president when he's no longer in office. That's insanity. And you people can just continue to push this narrative all you want. The Constitution bars it from happening. One of the things that pains me is when I have to call out law enforcement members that have done bad things, but I do it anyhow, as well as members of the military. Where am I going with this? General Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the Joint Chiefs of Staff are preparing to send a message to the entire military force, reiterating a tone of reassurance given recent violence in Washington. The message will remind the force that their obligation is to support and defend the Constitution and reject extremism. The decision to issue the message was agreed upon by the chiefs today. It is considered a significant step because the Chiefs have always sought to stay away from anything political. But given what has happened, they all felt it was important to make a statement given the gravity of events surrounding the inauguration. General Mark Milley, where were you over the past several years as we watched the Democrats wipe their ass with the Constitution? Where were you? What do you think this is going to do? What's your motivation behind this? Your actions are a disgrace to the United States military and our country. Yes, we took an oath. I took an oath to support and defend the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And we have been watching domestic terrorism take place all across this country, go unchecked by everyone, from the Department of Justice, the FBI, the National Guard, and yes, the active duty Army, active duty Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. What are you going to do with this statement? Why are you even saying this? Do you think that you're going to have to bring active duty to squash stuff that's going to take place on the 20th? Is that your plan? Do you think you have the power to pull that off? Why is it that you injected yourself into this political shitstorm? Going to write a book because you're close to retirement? Wanted to get your name out there in the headlines? Well, as far as I'm concerned, take off the uniform now, because you've disgraced the United States military with your rhetoric. Not to mention what you and the other Joint Chiefs of Staff have done to our military over the past several years, which is turn it into a pansy-ass, freaking unbelievable bullshit group of brave men and women, where you go out of your way to push just no merit BS against the men and women of our military. Everything from making them sit through extensive Black Lives Matter show and tell to teach them how to be sensitive, to the same thing with Muslims. Where were you at with Alihan Omar and the horrible things that she said about our brave men and women that you're second in command of? Why didn't you come out and say something then, when she compared those that were involved in Mogadishu, Somalia, with Operation Gothic Serpent, the Black Hawk Down incident, when she called them the real terrorists? Where were you at, FBI, when that happened, or the Department of Justice when that happened? A sitting member of Congress declared that the military, the United States military, were the terrorists over there. And then we allowed her and received to leave to take their oath to defend the Constitution with their hand on the Quran and take their oath to Allah, not God. And that goes against everything our founding fathers ever put forward. And if you know the Quran, if you've studied the Quran, you know exactly what it says about you and me and anyone else that's an American. So the hypocrisy runs the gamut, my friends, from the DOJ, the FBI, hell, many in local law enforcement, members of Congress. I find myself often at the end of the day saying that, damn, today was really screwed up. Tomorrow's got to be better because it can't get worse than it did today. And then turn on the news to watch another Democrat or another liberal or hell, even another Republican open their mouth and say something that is complete and utter stupidity and is against you, me, the American public, anyone that supports President Trump. I serve this nation with honor, and I don't know, I literally don't know what happened to the America that I proudly served. There are many people like me that are absolutely disgusted. And if they had some better place to go, they would. But they know, as I do, that no matter what happens here in America, we're still better than the rest of the world. Unless you've left this country and gone to the other countries around the planet and seen for yourself racism, what it really is, slavery, what it really is, and the other horrible things that happen, like sex trafficking children and women, massive amounts of drugs. Unless you've seen it firsthand, well, I guess you can just sit here in America and spew crap out of your mouth about shit that you don't know anything about, such as how bad we are. And because the liberals have infiltrated our school system and are teaching our children that the American flag is bad, cops are bad, everything about America is no better than any other country. And I dare us say that we're the shining example. Well, those little pansy asses have never left here. They've never went to other countries. They've never served this country for anything. And if given the opportunity, they would cower their ass in a fucking little corner somewhere. Because all they are is mouth. Just like all the keyboard warriors out there that attack conservatives and Republicans and say horrible and mean and disgusting things about us. But yet they won't say it to our face. And I've called on them many times. Don't talk shit on your keyboard. Now, come tell me to my face the same shit that you say hiding behind a computer. You know where I'm going to be. I'm very open about where I'm going to be and when I'm going to be there. And not one of you little pansy asses has ever taken up the opportunity. And you're not going to, because you're all talk. And a few of you have rotten teeth. Not to mention, you look like shit, or a troll that grew up under a freaking bridge, living in some shithole in Arkansas. And many of you know exactly the hell I'm talking about. Folks, keep your head on a swivel. Watch for the things that are being shared on social media, on the internet. Do your homework on it. A lot of it's fake. A lot of it is the left pretending to be the right, putting out information that's just not true. And the far right putting out information to stir the base that's just not true. You know, I never liked Obama. I never voted for Obama. I did many videos on Obama that you can go back and look at. But you know what? One thing I did do? I did, and I'm on record, calling out Republicans that were spreading false information about Obama. Why? Because there was enough real shit that he did that he needed to be called out on that wasn't being called out on. That you don't need to make up things to say about the evil person that he was or is. You don't have to make up shit. And that was happening way too often during his administration. 8 years worth of it. I'm like, look, I don't like the guy either. I think he's a wasted piece of shit. He's the worst president we've ever had since Jimmy Carter. But you don't have to make up things to get likes, clicks. When the guy was doing shit every month that you could actually look at as treason. And then you're making up things to stir the base. There was no need for that. We've got people right now saying things, sitting members of Congress on both aisles, saying things about this president that is 100% a lie. I read you his tweets that were taking place on the 6th. I posted them in my community section. He was not calling for riots. He was not calling for people to break into the Capitol. In fact, he was calling for peaceful protesting. He was telling people, reminding them that we are the party of law and order and not to do bad things. But nobody wants to hear that. Twitter took him down. The tweet went away. Many of us screenshotted that shit. And I shared it with you. The President of the United States is not responsible for what took place at the Capitol. That's like saying we should attack all the car manufacturers for somebody that's drinking and driving. You just can't make up this shit that the Democrats are doing. The hypocrisy is just absolutely shameful. And I wish it wasn't. I wish there was a way to say that, you know what? There's a silver lining. I found it. But I don't know. Let me just remind everybody again, what the president actually tweeted at 1:38 p.m. on January 6, 2021. Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. There it is. He followed that up at 2:13 p.m., January 6, 2021, with, I'm asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. Have you heard anybody else repeating those tweets? Nope. Not CNN, not MSNBC, not ABC, CBS, not Fox. Nope. No members of the Democrat Party will ever read to you what I just did. And sadly, there are Republicans like Cheney who are too freaking stupid to actually share the truth with the American people. All they want to do is divide us further. For 4 years, the Democrats never let up on President Donald J. Trump. And when I say the Democrats, I'm talking about the Democrats, the far left, CNN, MSNBC. They all attacked him every single day, constantly. They never let up on this man. They said things that were horrible and disgusting that should have had them physically arrested. FBI, like Maxine Waters, calling for violence against President Trump and his administration and supporters, and you guys didn't do shit. Nothing. She got away with it. We watched AOC and Rashid Tlaib and Alejandro Omar go to the border and meet with border agents and then come back and lie about what took place there. Where were you? Is that okay? No, that's inciting chaos. That's inciting a riot. That's putting the men and women in law enforcement on the border in danger with your horrible rhetoric, things that aren't true. I don't know what the final outcome is going to be on the 20th. I do know today that President Trump was at the border and he was talking to the border agents and law enforcement down there, and he was thanking them for everything they've done. I covered it live. You can go check out the video if you haven't seen it. I don't know. It sounded to me like he conceded. I'll leave it up to you to make that determination what you think he did. So I don't know what's going to happen on the 20th. But right now I'm so disgusted with everything that's happening and the outright hypocrisy of these Democrats and liberals. Joe Biden is calling for a peaceful transfer of power. Joe Biden is calling for us to now settle down, and he'll be a president for all of us. Where were you, Joe Biden and Camilla and all the other Democrats calling for a peaceful transfer of power and calling on Republicans and conservatives to stand down. Where were you for the past 4 years? You are inciting violence towards the President of the United States and his supporters. That's where you were. That's what you were doing. So you can go eat shit if you think for one moment any Republican or conservative that's worth their weight in it. Nope. People like Cheney, yeah. You got her. Take her. Strip her of her party because she don't belong to us anymore. And all the other Republicans that are doing, the Mitt Romneys. Nope. All you did was try and divide us. You tried to do it under the 8 years of Obama, and you fucking did it on steroids for the 4 years of Trump. And now you expect us to just go, okay, we'll be peaceful. While I've always called for peace and I've never called for violence, nor am I doing that in any way, shape, or form, when Republicans and conservatives do act up and do go, fuck it, I'm not taking it anymore, do you blame them? What do you do when you're beat down constantly? Eventually, you either completely submit or let them kill you, or you finally get enough and you fight back. And that's what's been happening. Conservatives and Republicans are sick of watching two different justice systems. One for Democrats that can do and get away with anything they want, and their liberal far left supporters, and Republicans and conservatives that are the Antichrist. It's bullshit. You know it. I know it. And guess what? So do they. Folks, you had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here. Thank you. Please go to DouglasDucote.com and sign up with your email address. It's free. You'll be able to continue to watch my videos and my live show because in the very near future, even possibly tonight or this week, I expect this channel to be removed from YouTube, just like Twitter removed me and Facebook removed me. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, our president, and our country. God bless you all. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I'll see you again Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central Time for another episode of the Douglas Ducote Show. Hope you all have a wonderful and blessed evening. Take care.